so please join me for a fireside chat. Mr. President, an honor. Thank you, sir. Please take a seat. Fantastic to be back.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I always feel very welcome here, and it's interesting to come at this time in the world. I mean, we've seen so many cycles, but I have to say, possibly nothing like this has ever happened in the global economy. And I'm wondering how you are looking at not only the short-term trends, the long-term trends, but also, we know the old adage, within every crisis, there's always opportunity. And there's a lot of agency on the continent that we haven't seen before. So how are you weighing things up? And what do you think the moment calls for the African continent and for you in Rwanda?
Well, thank you, Eleni, and welcome to Kigali. But let me take this opportunity to welcome and thank each one of the leaders here, heads of state, vice presidents, prime ministers, senior executives of different industries. I want to welcome you to Kigali and thank you very much for honoring our invitation and being here with us. Of course, I want to thank Amir and his team, Afurika, for having thought of this idea to bring people together in this manner that has been operational for a number of years. I want to appreciate the work they are doing and also the comments Amir made earlier, which really encapsulate all that we need to say and maybe based on to do a number of things. So I thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Now, back to the question. There will always be crises. I mean, we have had centuries of different things happening. We had slave trade, we had colonial times, then there are wars, then there are pandemics, then there are all kinds of things. They will happen all the time. We just, it's a matter of time, and there are these cycles that, so we are in a different cycle now that is driven geopolitically, and we have to contend with that. But that also for Africa keeps being a reminder of our position. Where do we stand in this global positioning? And we have had many people contribute ideas and very accurately educating us what we need to do and what we need to be thinking about. But we can't stay there. We need to learn from this. We need to shape what we are doing for ourselves, and action should lead us in the right direction and how to deal with these crises. So, but for Africa, let me say, we have to leverage our competitive advantage, and there are a number of them. So why is Africa always at a disadvantage? When you look back, you see where Africa has been lacking this or that. But really, why, when we have almost everything? If you look at in the area of green energy, and this continent is home to 60% of solar potential, 60%. is home to that. Africa is home to that. Then if you look at the critical minerals that talked about, all of them, or the majority, are on the continent for making batteries and so on and so forth. And different powers are fighting over that. But Africa, that has a lot of that, is silent or losing most of it cheaply to those who have the power and have know what they want to do. Look at human capital. In terms of human capital, Africa has abundance of that. In fact, whether maybe by now already or in a few years to come, Africa will be having the largest middle class in the world. So how can we have these resources? And then we are here wondering how to overcome some of the challenges that are brought by the geopolitics that we talk about, or the crises that we see happening in every. So we need to come together and do something about it. It's doing something about it. The rest we know. And Amir earlier on was talking about what we lose by not doing a number of things. I think we lose a lot more even by not doing what we have to do.
And it's a really important point. It's time of action. And I have to say, you know, when you mentioned pandemics, there was a wake-up call, and we've seen so much shift and change. But, you know, watching what's been going on with the way African leaders have been approaching bad deals that are getting on their table. I mean, Zimbabwe, Zambia, as well as Ghana, saying no to mineral deals because it was about extraction in return for healthcare programs and so forth. And frankly, I'm sure a lot of you in the room know that you've been very vocal about the kind of bullying tactics, the coercive tactics that have been used by the West, specifically the US. And at this point in time, we know that Africa is still being viewed as a place where people can extract. But African leaders are saying no. Also threats about sanctions consistently, not only against African nations, but other countries. Rwanda yourselves are dealing with US sanctions since March this year with the issue regarding the DRC. Take me through how you're dealing with this new geopolitical tension where there's a belief that might is right and the big can control, you know, everyone else.
Well, it's a crisis in a sense, but brought about by the same thing, Africa not leveraging our capacity, our potential, our, you know, energy of the people of our continent is just locked out there. And it's a situation where the powers that be are holding a whip in their hands. They're using a stick to beat up whoever they want to beat up in order to, they are no longer even hiding it. It's just in the open. It's like in the situation you're talking about, we have in the region of Congo and the other crises that also in a way involve Rwanda and other countries in our region. Yeah, sanctions, one has, first of all, are they justified? And it is not just in this case of Rwanda, but in other cases. Sometimes sanctions are just applied in a case of the one who provides less than the other. Yes, so it goes in the favor of the highest bidder. when somebody knows they will extract more from a certain place, they will be more favorable to that place, even if they are the ones in the wrong.
Do you believe that all roads lead to mineral deals? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it is in the open. It is, I don't have to say much. And in some cases, it operates like in the very old days. There is a lot of cynicism in this. In the old days, the kings and so on and so forth used to give their in-laws, their children, powers, say, go and control something somewhere. And that's happening today here.
Yeah.
Yes, they just give somebody, say, go and get whatever you want to, and do whatever you want to do in that region. That is how Africa is treated. So these powers you see that come here lecturing people on democracy, human rights, and they are doing it with one arm, and the other, they are just taking away everything that people own. So, and this is what is critical. This is why Africa, leaders of Africa, some of whom are here, are brothers, and the CEOs and other Africans, I think we need to give ourselves value of some kind. We can't just be people who are waiting to be ripped off by somebody who is shrewd enough and has the power to come. No, we must be able to say no.
And we've seen those no's. We've seen some of those. I mean, do you believe, sanctions are used, a coercive method to get countries to capitulate. Are you going to capitulate?
I never capitulated in a war situation. This is not a bad situation as such. Well, it hurts, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it is meant to do. It is meant, sanctions or different measures are meant to hurt people. So in a way, we are hurt. But I think we would be hurt more by not doing what we are doing. So it's always, you make a calculation. Yes. So, and it is not so difficult to say no. In fact, it costs more to say yes to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So we are here, but all these things come to pass in one form or another. Even those who have been given the gift of messing us up, one day they will not live long enough to see the gains from exploiting people or doing unjust things. So I think each one of us, countries in Africa and mainly and most importantly together, there is a lot we can do to raise Africa, to raise ourselves to the level where it should be, and don't mind about these powers that think they own the world and the heaven and everything else.
And I hear you loud and clear on the hypocrisy and the contradiction in terms of where international law applies to some when it suits and it's broken in other cases. We've seen so much of this. In a world where we're seeing the unraveling of the global world order as we know it, institutions are being challenged, they're being broken down. What is Africa's role, do you think, in this new world? Because it feels like it's never going to be the same again.
My view is that these pressures that we get from the rest of the world, Africa, I think, is being reminded to wake up. So the pressures are not entirely bad. I think they force Africa to look within for what we have to actually do what we need to do to find a good place for us in this world of those injustices and other challenges. So Africa looking within, and we have a lot to bring to bear on dealing with these challenges, I think we can succeed. But above all, we need to work together and move away from saying what we know, because there is a lot we know and there is a lot we talk about, but we need to do a lot more based on that.
The private sector, I want to talk about scaling up or failing. You engage a lot with the private sector. Rwanda is such a prime example of incredible, I mean, we cover so many stories here. I mean, you're just seeing like hotbed of fantastic growth. But where do you think the private sector is going wrong from breaching that level and becoming African champions and really truly scaling up?
I think private sector is doing a good job. In fact, it is ahead of the public sector. But we could be served much better by finding a way to bring close private sector and the public sector and benefiting each other as one, because that's what we are actually one when you look at the needs of the continent. And so I want to thank the private sector. The private sector, they are actually, to some level, hustlers. They are able to go through some of the barriers that are created by the public sector.
Yeah.
But if those barriers were not there, the private sector would be far ahead of where they are, and along with that, the continent also would be ahead of where we are. So my call to all of us is for really coming together, the private sector, the ways of how they could conduct business, I think, have been very elaborately put by Amir in the presentation you had with him earlier. And those of us in the public sector need to fine-tune our responsibilities towards allowing the private sector to be the engine that they are and should be, and all of us would benefit.
I think His Excellency just gave all of you a compliment. He called you hustlers. He says you're the, doing things better than the pipe. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause. Mr. President, you're so, so encouraging always. I've got one other question, and I want to talk about, when I wake up in the morning and I have to check, can you believe social media to get an understanding of what leaders are thinking? And a lot of the time, it lacks decorum, it's shocking. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah, I don't have to say it. What do you think of the way global leaders, the strongest leaders on this planet, are speaking right now? I'm sure do you wake up and check what people are saying? On social media? Do you get shocked? What shocked you the most? There's a lot.
I have become immunized to shocks. But social media is very interesting. It brings equality in some sense of presentation of ideas and feelings, and it has really, media has been democratized. I think it is important. Everyone can express themselves and they will be heard. If you are wrong, there will be somebody to tell you, you say, no, that's not right. And when it is right, then people will say, wait a minute, I think there is a point here that we should be thinking about. So it has been so open that we have gone beyond having this narrow sense of being guided into things without sometimes thinking, or we are conditioned to believing even what is not right just because it has been said by somebody in the media. So it has sort of opened up space for everybody. So some of us also follow, and it's up to any individual to scan and try and make a sense of what you've heard, you are seeing, and it is a good way. You receive criticism, you receive advice, and so it remains the responsibility of any individual to decide how they build on that and benefit.
You didn't answer my question about the shock factor. Were you shocked by some of the things you see?
I'm not, I said I've been immunized.
Immunized, okay.
I'm not shocked about I understand where the world we live in.
Yeah, it's changed, right? It's completely different.
Yeah, for the 30-something years of my life, in the last 30 years, if you look at, I think, we come to understand there will be things that would otherwise be shocking, but they don't shock because we have been there.
That's true. Mr. President, final word. What do you want people to walk away with from this forum as we say goodbye?
Well, always it's a good opportunity, but I want people to know that each one of the people in this room and beyond have something to contribute and to benefit from, and benefit each other, and the continent has a lot that is not being put to good use, and it is up to us. It's not people from anywhere else to be able to raise ourselves to that level where we should be.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank His Excellency the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. What an honor to speak to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Always inspirational, always insightful. And by now, a lot of you will know that I've been advocating for